Alright guys, in the last video we created our Laravel app and we registered with the Twitter API. We also added the config options. So what I'm going to do right now is go to the routes file, which is routes and then web.php. And I'm just going to get this over with because it's very simple. We only basically need 2 lines here. So one is going to be route get. Okay, and this is going to be for our home page. This is basically a single page application. And then this is going to go to Twitter controller, and then we're going to do at Twitter user timeline. Alright, so that's one. That's basically the timeline is going to be on the index route. And then we're also going to have a post route for when we submit a tweet. Okay, so we'll say post, and we'll say tweet. And then we're going to put an array here as a second parameter and say as post.tweet. And then we want to put a comma here and we want to say uses. And then the name of the controller, which is going to be Twitter controller. And then the function, which will be tweet. Alright, and that's all we should have to do in our routes. So let's save that. And now we need to generate our controller. So let's go to the command line here and we'll say PHP artisan make controller, and let's say Twitter controller. Okay, and that'll create the file for us. Let's go open it up. So app http controllers and then Twitter controller. Now since we installed the the Twitter package, or whatever you want to call it, we need to include that. So we can say use Twitter, and then we also want the file helper, so we can say use file. Alright, so we're going to have a function, so public function, and this will be Twitter user timeline. And in here we're going to create a variable, we'll call it data, and then set it to use that Twitter module. So Twitter, and it has a function called getUserTimeline. Okay, that's what we're going to use. And then that's going to take in an array of options. So the first one's going to be the count. And then what I'll do, instead of putting it right here, I'm going to add it as a property to the class. So let's make it a private property called count, and we're going to set that equal to 10 by default. Alright, and then let's do, actually, you know what, these should be within the parentheses, so right here. Just wondering why they were colored funny. Alright, and then we'll do private format. Okay, what format do we want these? We want them in an array. Okay, and then we're going to set count to this count, okay, meaning this class property count, which is this. And then for the format, okay, for the format, we're going to say this format. Alright, and since they're private, they can't directly access these outside of this class, okay. Alright, and then we simply want to return a view. So let's say return view, and we're going to have a view called Twitter, and then we want to send along that data. Okay, so let's do with data, and then the data variable. Alright, so let's save this, and then we're going to go to our views, which is in resources views, and let's see, what are we going to create in here? We just need a file, and we're going to call it twitter.blade.php. Now since this is only a single page, I'm not going to create a layout and all that. We're going to put everything right in here. So let's put in our HTML tags. Alright, and then in the title we'll just say my tweets. And then we're going to use Bootstrap, but I'm going to use a custom version from Bootswatch. I'm going to grab this first one because it kind of has the Twitter colors. So if we click download and then copy that, and then we can stick that right in here. Okay, we'll paste it like that. And then let's create a very simple nav bar. So we'll make some nav tags here, give them a class. Let's give it a class of navbar, and then I'm going to use navbar default because that's the bluish color, or the light blue. All right. Then we're going to create a container, and then another div, and this is going to be the navbar header. And in here we'll just put a link, and let's see, that'll just go to slash. And then this is going to be the branding, so let's say class equals navbar brand, and then we'll just say my tweets. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that, and then let's see if we can go to our home page and reload. Let's see, undefined constant data, assume data. Let's see, what's that? Oh, with data. Oh, you know what I'm going to do is, let's not do the width. We can actually go like this. We can say compact data. Actually, we don't want, it should be like that. So let's save that. And there we go. So now we have our nav bar. So we're going to have a form here to actually add a tweet, but I'm not going to get to that yet. First, I want to just output the tweets. So let's go back to our view here. We're going to go under the nav tag. And then let's create a div with the class of container. And we're going to do an if. We're going to say if not empty data. And then that needs an end if. Actually, let's do an else too. So we'll say, okay, if there is none, then let's just put a paragraph and we'll say no tweets found. All right, but if it's not empty, then we want to loop through. So let's do a for each, and we can say for each data as, and then we can do the key and then value. Actually, you know what? Let's call this tweet. That makes a little more sense. And then we'll end it. Okay, and then inside of it, let's create a div, and we're going to give it a class of well. And then we'll put an h3. And then I want the tweet text. So we should be able to get that by saying tweet and then getting text. Alright, let's just try this out so far. So if we reload, there we go, it's outputting our tweets. Now I also want to put the number of favorites and retweets because we can get that from the API as well. So let's go actually in the H3. What the heck? So inside here, let's put an I tag and then give it a class. We'll use our bootstrap icons. Let's say glyph icon, and then glyph icon dash heart. So we'll use that for the favorite. Alright, and we want to go outside of the I, and then we're going to do tweet, and we can get the favorite underscore count. Oops, that's not right. Okay, favorite count. And then let's copy this, paste that in, and then I'm going to change this to repeat, which is kind of like a swirly arrow, and that's going to be the retweet count. Alright, so let's save that. Okay, so there we go. Cool. Now, we're also going to, when we create our form, I'm going to make it so that we can also upload images. So if there's an image, we want to show those. All right, so we have to first check to make sure there is one. So let's go to let's go under H3, and we're going to do an if. Okay, so we'll say if not empty, and we can get this with tweet, and then extended underscore entities. I think that's right, entities, and then media. Okay, so if there is an image, let's do an end if right here. So if there's images, then we want to loop through because it's going to be an array. So for each, let's do the end. Okay, so for each, and we want to take this. So for each image as, we'll just do I. And then in here, let's put an image tag and give it a source. And we'll do I. And then we want the URL, and we can get that by doing media underscore URL underscore HTTPS. Alright, and we don't need an alt. And let's actually give it, we'll say style, and we'll give it a width of, let's say, whoops, what am I doing? Width of, let's do 100 pixels. Yeah, that should be good. Alright, so we'll save that. Now none of these tweets actually have an image, so you're not going to see it, but when we create our own tweet, I'll show you how we can do that. Alright, so that's what we're going to get into next.